The latest labour force data has been released by Stats SA today, painting a stark picture of the nation's economic challenges. The report identifies critical dynamics in the labour market, with elevated unemployment rates, persistent youth joblessness and uneven sectoral performance. Economist Casey Sprake from Anchor Capital joins us now. Thank you very much for taking time to chat to us today. Now, what economic factors drove the rise in unemployment in Q1?
It's the usual range of factors we see across the economy at the moment, to be honest. It's skills shortages, it's skills mismatch. And I think, at a very high level, it's simply the fact that the economy is just not growing at the adequate rate to support our growing population. The economic rule of thumb that we typically follow is that we need growth rates of 3% or more per annum to sort of boost employment prospects for South Africa. And we haven't had more than 2% in over a decade. And that is why we're just starting to see this pull through from quarter to quarter.
Now, with GDP growth forecast cut to 1 to 1.5% for 2025, how does this latest data reflect labour market constraints on economic outlook?
Again, it just goes to show the economy is not growing at the rate we need to create meaningful and long-term job creation within the economy. If there's no new businesses flowing, if there's no investment flows across the economy, the jobs just simply aren't there. And we see that, nuanced throughout the different dynamics. I mean, for instance, we look at our youth unemployment rates of about 14 to 25. Years of age, we're seeing an unemployment rate of 62.8%. So if the economy is just not growing at adequate levels, you mentioned that sort of, the 1.5% mark, there's just no new jobs coming into the market for this youthful population feeding through.
Now, which sectors gained jobs in the first quarter, and what does this shift mean for economic growth prospects?
It typically always shifts through to the services sector. So you see, for instance, the financial services sector, for one, always being a strong, meaningful employment. We're seeing concerning trends starting to pull through from the construction and sort of agricultural industries again. And that goes to show to the general dynamics or structural constraints in the economy, for issues we're having around logistics, poor operation from our ports, continual power issues in key areas, water issues, etc. And that's starting to filter through to those more industries, which is a greater problem because they are the higher employers of labour at the end of the day.
What labour market reforms or stimulus measures do you think need to be prioritised to reverse unemployment trends?
To be honest, it'll be the longer term issues. It's not the type of problem that can be fixed in the short term. South Africa's unemployment problem or crisis, should we actually say, if you look at the numbers, it's structural in issue. It stems down again from lack of strong educational prospects in this country, skills mismatch as well. We're just not producing the right levels of skills in the areas that are required. And again, some of the stats that came through from this latest print was a concerningly high rate of unemployment pulling through from fresh graduates. So that's not just those from a trick, but those who are actually leaving university with degrees. They still not find the right prospects. So again, we're talking about the skills mismatch of just trying to align the outcomes within the economy. And then, second to that, again, it's the measures that we need, those pro-growth reform measures that we need. We need to start seeing service delivery across our provinces, getting our educational aspects around our schools strong, getting the basic logistics in our country operational so that we can create employment prospects. We're not going to get international investment into the economy if they cannot see as an area that is constrained for the economy. And in addition to that, we have an extremely rigid labour market in this country. If we can loosen some of the reforms around there, again, just to attract that international investment into the economy that actually creates jobs at the end of the day.
And lastly, are there regional disparities in the latest data, and how should policymakers address them?
Yes, once again, we see very strong regional disparities. The strongest employment prospects at the moment are stemming down once again to the Western Cape. I believe that's a function, again, of service delivery. The Western Cape is just seen as an environment that is more conducive for businesses to operate in. We have working infrastructure, or basic working infrastructure down in the Western Cape, and that just makes it an easy environment to do business and attracts those employment prospects as well.
Well, thanks so much for your time. Economist Casey Sprake from Anchor Capital chatting to us there about those latest labour numbers.